Joaquin Buckley.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Joaquin Buckley. Listen, man, I'm glad that you guys are tuned in. Y'all subscribing. I appreciate y'all for getting me to 2,000 subscribers. We locked in. But hey, y'all already know, y'all done already heard the news, man. They done switched it up on us. I'm now fighting Colby Covington December 14th in Tampa Bay. It's going to be a massive fight. It's my first main event yet again. So I feel like for me, it's a big name and a big opportunity. And even though the Ian Gary fight didn't work out, it's not Buck versus Cuck anymore. It's all good. I feel like the Colby Covington fight is a much bigger opportunity. And this is the reason why. You know, Colby Covington is such a big star, pulverizing star within the UFC that he has fought for the belt multiple times. And even though he lost every time, he was able to have the opportunity to fight for the belt. And being an interim champion at one point in his career and being a top contender for the majority of his career, I really feel like beating a person like this kind of really shows my levels and exactly what I'm capable of doing. Y'all gotta realize, this the last fight of the year. So with that being said, I really gotta show up. I really gotta show out. And I really feel like with Colby Covington, this is the fight to really make my name and really kind of put me on to that road to gold that I always talk about and for me to take the throne. Colby, he must be locked in because Colby been real quiet. He been hush-hush. He ain't been talking about nothing. So I really feel like at the end of the day, this means I'm about to get the best version of Colby Covington. I feel like no matter what version that comes in that cage against me, I feel like it's going to be no match. Because of the consistent work, you know, y'all already know I've been very, very, very busy this year, you know, with me fighting Vicente Luque, with me fighting Ruzaboya, with me fighting Wonder Boy, and now having this first main event opportunity. It's just like, bro, we've been locked in. You can't expect to try to get ready for a fight once you get a fight, right? I feel like I've been consistently putting myself in a position where I don't just get ready, but I stay ready for any opportunity that is given to me. I don't go out, you know what I'm saying, and party and drink and travel or like take time off. Like, this is my lifestyle. This is what I do, and this is what I focus on. And with Colby Covington, the way he lives and the way he, you know what I'm saying, portrays himself on social media, you can see that he does a lot of things outside of just training for fights. So with all that being said, man, I'm definitely excited for the opportunity that the UFC has gave me. And also make sure that you guys are out there in Tampa. We got a watch party going on for UFC310. We're going to be out there a week earlier before my fight. So if you're out there in Tampa, please come down to David Buster's. We're going to have the location popped up somewhere on the screen. So if you're out there in Tampa, man, come and see me. Come and holler at me, bro. And let's talk about fights. And if you're not in Tampa, don't worry, we're going to have a watch party live on our YouTube channel, all right? So everybody can be a part of the show and everybody can just enjoy the fights and watch my commentary and how I break things down. But with all that being said, right, let's talk about UFC 310. So now you have Pantoja versus Kai Asakara. Y'all know, man, I'm terrible with these names. But at the end of the day, this is a great fight for the flyweight division. At first, I was thinking in my head, I said, man, the UFC could have picked anybody, you know, in the flyweight division to fight Pantoja. But then I thought about it. I said, well, could they? I felt like the only person that they really could have had was Tai Tassuro, right? He just lost his last fight to Brandon Royval. A close split decision, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? But that would have been a person that would have been next for that. And then I thought about the other person. Who else could have been it, right? Amir Albazi. He could have fought for the belt, but then who he lose to? Brandon Moreno. And then those two guys that won those fights already lost to Pantoja. So the UFC don't want no repeat fights, right? We already got that with Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo. We don't want 4 fights back to back, right? We want to be able to see new competition, new competitors, and new fights be put on. I feel like with them finding somebody outside of the organization was very important. With Kai Asakura, him being a rising champion, you know, he didn't put in his dues. He didn't put in his work, right? So I feel like with this, he can give a lot of potential threats to Pantoja when it comes to the striking and on the feet. With Pantoja, no disrespect to him, he's a great fighter, he's a great competitor, and he's out there and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, winning, right? But he doesn't have a market. He doesn't have a market that he sells to that is willing to buy pay-per-views. And I believe that he's only a main event fight now because obviously the switch up, right? But with Kai Asakura, I believe that he is the reason why they made this a main event is because of this kid. Him being from Japan, him fighting in Asia, he has a market that he's able to sell to, and then people are going to watch. The UFC is always looking for that new market to reach out to and make sure that they are the biggest global sporting event in any place that they go. And obviously, with them having competition with this one fighter, if he's able to obtain the belt, if he's able to win, can become an overnight star. In my personal opinion, there's levels to this game at the end of the day. And I really feel like once you cement your name as a UFC champion, you are the undisputed best in the world. So with that being said, I feel like, even though Kai is a great talented fighter, he's going to find out that, Pantoja is a champion for a reason. And Pantoja is going to continue to be a world champion and get Kai up out of there probably in the third round, And then obviously we got our next fight, right? Co-main event. You got Shah Kai, 18-0, Ian Gary, 15-0. The two undefeated guys, right? These guys, they done trained with one another. They done been in the gym. They know each other. Obviously, you got Shah Kai talking about like, hey, I done gave Buddy that good work. I done finished him a couple times in the gym. Then you got another person that had to lead that gym, learn some different tools, get some new techniques, right? And really make himself comfortable to feel like he could be ready to fight a person like Shah Kai, right? I think that fight is not going to be as exciting as the fans want it to be because you got a finisher like Shah Kai, who with all his wins come by via finish. Obviously, when you got two fighters that's willing to get into that burning house and go to war, somebody gonna get burned, right? But Ian Gary's not that type of fighter. Ian Gary is going to stay to the outside. He going to be shooting his little arrows from the tower from a distance, and not willing to engage with Shah Kai at any given point of the fight. And I feel like Shah Kai, unfortunately, he doesn't have the feet to hunt down a person like Ian Gary and to be able to really stop the movement and be able to create traps and be able to block Ian Gary up against the cage and make it very hard for him to, I guess, say survive, right? Now, y'all already know this is a 5-round fight. Even though it's a co-main event, it is a 5-round fight for this individual to be a contender and next to fight for a world title. So they really gonna have to prove themselves and really use not just their physical ability, but their mental ability, right? Because when you talk about 5 rounds, like you gotta learn how to pace yourself. You gotta learn how to explode when necessary, and you gotta learn how to be able to weather the storm when necessary in these fights. So with that being said, I think Ian Gary is gonna be able to find out a way to win. In the 4th and 5th rounds, he's gonna be able to pull away and get a split decision win against Shah Kai. So we got the two heavyweights. We got Ciryl Gane versus Volkov. All right, these guys have already fought each other before. Ciryl Gane, I believe, won by decision, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a very close fight. This fight is now 3 rounds instead of 5. And with that being said, I think that's really going to be the change in the dynamic of the fight and how they both fight it, because you got 3 rounds, you got heavyweights, they able to, let go of that energy a little bit more. I think Volkov is a good fighter, is a good striker, but I feel like Volkov is going to have to switch it up, right? And I really feel like Volkov is going to have to use his wrestling and be more of a mixed martial artist, right, to really kind of find that victory. But with Ciryl Gane, hopefully he learned from the John Jones loss that, man, I got to learn how to wrestle. All right, I got to get in the wrestling room. I got to learn how to grapple. I got to learn how to sprawl, right? I got to learn how to keep my distance from guys that want to grapple me so I can do what I do best, which is kickbox, right? And with Ciryl Gane having that lesson from John Jones, I feel like for me, I'm just going to take the chance that he has gotten better from that and he has learned from that situation, so I can see Cyril Gane getting the finish in the second round against Volkov. Next fight that we got on the main card, we got Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Like, Bryce Mitchell, it's been a minute since we seen him. Obviously, he had that bad loss against Josh Emmett where he got knocked out bad. I'm talking about severe. I'm talking about took him to the king. It was no good, right? But the UFC blessed him with a great fight with Kron Gracie. Obviously, we know the Gracie name and the impact that the Gracie has done for the UFC, but I don't see Kron ever fighting on a regular basis. You know, I see my man every 3 years pop out every once in a while just to get beat up and then leave again, right? So I think this is a great opportunity for Bryce Mitchell to come back, you know, get a win, secure a win underneath his belt, man, and get back to the Bryce Mitchell ways. So I definitely got Bryce Mitchell getting this win fairly easy. And obviously, you know, Bryce Mitchell is a ground fighter, right? He's a jiu-jitsu guy. If you have Bryce Mitchell on the ground, you know, he can give you a hard time. But with Kron being a Gracie, it might not be the best avenue to victory to take the fight to the ground. So I can see Bryce Mitchell kind of cleaning up his striking and working on his hands a bit and really kind of showing the world that, hey, you know, I got hands too, right? And this is the perfect opponent to kind of show that against. So I got Bryce Mitchell for the win. Let me go for a second round finish in this one. So you got the last fight on there on the main card. You got Nate the Great versus Du Hoi Choi, all right? Make sure I say my man's name right. Now, I think this is a good fight. I think it could be a fantastic fight. I haven't seen Du Hoi Choi in a minute. You know, I haven't seen him since he fought Cuz Swanson back in the day when he had that fight of the year with him, right? And y'all know how I felt about that fight, but, you know, it is what it is. Nate the Great, he can do big things in this fight. I feel like he has a great opportunity to really just be a showman, be an entertainer like he always is, and go out there, you know what I'm saying, and really put on a show. With Du Hoi Choi, he kind of keeps his hands down and kind of keeps his chin up. He's an aggressive guy when he gets out there, but dealing with a person like Nate, you know, he's firing everything with bad intentions, and he's really trying to put you to sleep. So with Du Hoi Choi, he's going to have to figure out, how can I keep my hands up for this fight for me to survive? I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he got the time to really learn how to keep his hands up in the short amount of time that they got for this fight to come out. So with that being said, I got Nate the Train for a knockout in the first round, period. And look, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, that was just the main card. But you know what's even crazier? Early prelims and the prelims is just as stacked, right? You talking about, you got Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. You got Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. You got Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. You got Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders, right? And that's just the early prelims, right? And now you got Randy Brown versus Brian Battles, Mozart Ivoyel versus Aljamain Sterling. You got Vicente Luque versus Themba, and now Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith. Like, this pay-per-view is stacked with names nonstop, you know? And yet again, y'all can't be more thankful to the UFC than to give y'all this type of pay-per-view right here. Like, this is worth spending your money, right? If I was to spend my money on anything, this would be it right here, because this is a type of fight card that, you know, it's a fighter's fight card. So I really feel like the UFC done really turned up and really gave y'all something special, you know. And then obviously I got my fight card coming up. I can't speak of the people, because I don't even know who fighting on my fight card, to be honest with you, because I'm only focused on me. But with that being said, with this pay-per-view that y'all getting, I'm definitely telling you, y'all might want to tune in to UFC 310, bro. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, this could be fight card of the year. I know UFC 300, that was a big one too. But UFC 310, I feel like, can be able to compete with UFC 300. I promise y'all. Mark my words on me.